Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba.
Hey, I'm Smiley.
Are we really starting this
yes,
time?
We're really starting this time.
Are you sure you're not trolling me this time? Give me a second to step into character, Jesus.
I'm Madam Smiley.
I'm Billy out of Doom!
Yes, and we are here reading some bad fan fiction.
Yay!
Those of you
Thunderous
know
applause.
from the peanut gallery.
This is what thunder sounds like, right? That a horse?
That was us shaking down the house because everyone's so excited about us.
Yay!
Alright. Keeping in habit because Billy Go to Doom has managed to find 2 whole Con Air fan fictions.
Oh, there were more there. These are just the ones I felt would maybe be okay enough to read here.
Okay.
But I welcome all of you to go to the fanfiction, section of Con Air stuff.
If you have a Con Air fic that you really want us to read, then please drop it in the comments. Also, of course, if you are the writer of this fanfiction or know the writer of this fanfiction, have them contact me, let them know if they love it or if they hate it and they want us to take it down, and we are happy to do so. Would you like to introduce the fic?
Sure, this is called Homemade Cookies and Love-Starved Murderers by Lil-Randomer?
Lil-Randomer.
Alright, it was written, oh my god, December 28th, 2015.
Wow, this is new!
Ooh.
This is...
it was updated then.
Oh.
It was published in January of 2015. So it took
Oh yeah, so this is a fic a year in the making.
Yeah, it has 2 chapters, so presumably they updated it in January and then waited almost a year for December.
We're gonna read the first chapter. If it's just delightfully bad, we'll keep going. Or if it's just good.
And if it drags, we'll apologize and we'll give you your money back.
Yeah. You'll get I don't know. Bag of grass.
I'll lift up my shirt.
He'll lift his shirt.
I won't.
He'll show you his bitties.
No, I won't. No.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, let's go.
Most other days I would. So here is the synopsis, or the summary. When Cyrus met Nicole at 5 years old, she was dressed up as Little Red Riding Hood. Cyrus soon becomes obsessed with the warden's only daughter, so what happens when she is chosen to ride on the jailbird 14 years later? The big bad wolf comes out to play, swearing death and violence throughout. Cyrus and the original character. Oh, there's a pairing in this. That summary doesn't inspire me.
Who the hell is self-inserting with Cyrus the Virus?
Why are they starting off at 5 years old?
Alright, if this gets extremely not okay, I'm gonna call.
Okay.
Or we can have Chris just put in some duck noises over all the inappropriate parts.
Okay. Yeah.
A little pitter-patter of feet could be heard in the usually deserted halls of San Quentin State Prison. A tiny sob here and there could be heard too. And one of the cells, one of the most deadliest men. Sorry, there is no comma separating those two.
Yeah.
One of the most deadliest men sat. Cyrus Grissom, aka Cyrus the Virus. That's what they called him, on the fact that he killed more men than cancer.
That's a line right from the movie, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Okay.
He must kill a lot of men. He must get up very early in the morning.
So cancer kills like 2,000 people a day or something like that.
Wow,
in the U.S. So
man,
he
is
busy guy. He sat up in his bed, wondering where the crying was coming from. He calmly walked to the door of his cell and saw a strange sight he thought he would never see in a prison.
That sentence is far too long.
The sight was one of a tiny girl running with tears. Oh my god, dude! I'm sorry. You gotta with the repeating. Don't repeat one word within the sentence like 10 times.
Unless it's like a very good word, or unless you do a sentence really well.
The sight was one of a tiny girl running with tears running down her face. Now said girl was dressed very ironically for being in a prison. She was wearing a red dress and cape holding a wicker basket. Cyrus smirked to himself, being reminded a little of Little Red Riding Hood.
That is
it's really hard to read.
That's like 4 different sentences in one sentence.
That was really hard. The little girl stopped near his door and looked up at him with big doe eyes. Cyrus just looked back. no, comma, I'm adding a comma here for my own sanity, looked back, unable to think of something to say back to the girl, and all he could think of was the girl was unusually pretty for such a young person, and that could be dangerous in this place. Jesus Christ!
He's a murderer.
Your turn!
He's a murderer, not a rapist. Yeah, why is he thinking this about a tiny little... Yeah. He's not even a kid rapist. He's like, this is like 2 crimes removed from his actual
From
thing.
what he actually does.
Yeah, he's just cancer. Why is he called virus, though? Because, like, cancer isn't a virus. That's just what
it's Con Air!
Oh, never mind. I'm sorry. Hi, mister! Cyrus looked down again to see the girl had stopped crying now, but was still staring up at him. He bent down to the girl's level so she didn't have to strain her neck. Oh, that's nice of him. What a nice murderer. Now, Cyrus was definitely known for being a dangerous man, but there was something different about this girl.
Oh, yes. The magical mental illness breaking OC.
I want to point out, definitely is spelled correctly, so, points for that.
Yeah, no.
That makes up for everything. That makes up for everything.
All of the ridiculous run-on sentences are made up by, because I can't even spell definitely, right? Like,
You're a terrible person.
I cannot spell definitely independently.
It's finite.
Independently.
It's finite with
a death at the beginning. I can't spell whatever. Let's keep going.
Yeah. Do you want to stop the video more for your grammar lessons? I'm sorry, I'm the one stopping them.
Yeah.
Where were we again? Let's start over. A little pitter-patter of feet.
No. Right here.
What are you doing here? He asked the girl bluntly. He was never one to beat around the bush, even with a child. That doesn't seem very blunt, though. It's a normal-ass question.
Yeah.
The girl started sobbing again before trying to talk, but Cyrus couldn't understand what she was trying to say. Whoa, how about you stop crying and talk normally? Being a 20-year-old man... Oh, wow. 20-year-old...
Is he that young?
I don't know. Being a 20-year-old man, Cyrus was definitely happy that he wasn't going to have kids, especially if this is all they do.
Okay.
Okay, so wait. Who was it that played Cyrus again in the movie? Because I'm just trying to imagine that guy as a 20-year-old, and that just seems weird to me.
Hold on, we're gonna Google it.
Time out.
Yeah, okay, so for the record, I'm going to pull up in the video the image.
20-year-old Cyrus the Virus.
Yeah. Cyrus the Great. 20 years old!
Okay. I'm having trouble imagining John
Sorry,
Malkovich.
it has been a long time.
Been a while!
It's been a while since I saw Connor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm trying to imagine a 20-year-old John Malkovich, and what the fuck is that even? Put a picture up.
Yeah.
Please, find a picture.
I'll find a picture of
Also, in the comments, put pictures of
John Malkovich at 20.
As a 20. Or just, his head photoshopped onto a 20-year-old. That's all they do. The little girl wiped her tears with the hand that wasn't holding the basket and hiccuped a bit before turning back to the man behind the glass door. I came to visit my daddy and work. I brought his some cookies me and Mommy made, but he was being mean to someone in his office and I got scared and ran. The girl's eyes started to glass over again, but she didn't want to cry because the man wouldn't be able to know what she was saying. Cyrus stood and thought over what she had just told him. He dad worked in an office here, but the only person who has an office in the entire prison has to be... Finally, we have periods. That was all one sentence, by the way.
I saw 1, 2 commas. Cyrus
began to smirk like a Cheshire... Is there more than one Cheshire cat?
As far as I'm aware, it's the Cheshire cat,
okay.
But, this is minor. This is a minor problem.
Cyrus began to smirk like a Cheshire cat. Sweetie, he began, in a false nice tone. Who's your daddy and what does he do? Who's your daddy? The little girl looked confused as if Cyrus should know who her daddy was. My daddy's name is Thomas.
Also, those are in the same paragraph.
Yeah, really, you should split up your dialogue. Cyrus couldn't believe his luck when the nice girl had confirmed that her father was the warden. He was bored of this place. He had escaped so many times, caused riots, and killed a couple of his fellow inmates. So when this little girl literally ran into his life, it was like a gift had landed straight into his lap. But, didn't it establish earlier that he was behind a glass door?
Yeah.
So it's like he can't even reach through the bars to get her. But, what's more important is what follows is a comma and a capital letter. So, straight into his lap, comma, capital, he couldn't think of a better place to hurt the warden than his heart. Cyrus looked at the little girl who had gone quiet and thought of the endless possibilities of things he could do to destroy the warden, but those thoughts vanished when he felt something being pushed into his hand. He looked down to see the little girl had given him the cookies she has made for her father. He smiled a little, for the innocent gesture was the nicest one he had seen for a while.
So she phased a basket of cookies through a glass wall.
I guess, or is it like the Hannibal Lecter thing where there's little air holes? How small are the cookies? Maybe that's why he was mad. He knew she was coming to bring him tiny little cookies, so he just had to be yelling at someone that was there to scare her away.
Pellet cookies. What's your name, kid? He asked her, biting the cookie she had given him, seeing her doing the same with one from her basket. She looked up into his dark brown eyes. My name's Nicole. What's yours? Nicole asked innocently, obviously not knowing who he was. Again, no comma. Cyrus chuckled a little at Nicole's naivete. That's spelled correctly?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
Cyrus. Nicole cocked her head to the side and puckered her lips in thought before nodding. I like it. The duo sat there, eating cookies in silence, before they both heard a woman screaming Nicole's name and very loud footsteps. Nicole jumped up and gave Cyrus the rest of the cookies, and brushing the crumbs off her new red dress. I have to go now, Mr. Cyrus, but I'll be back again. Before Cyrus could say anything, Nicole had run off in the direction of her mom and the group of guards who had obviously been sent to find her. Nicole Elsie Monroe, don't you run off like that again. Don't you know the type of bad people live here? No question mark.
No question mark, no period.
No period, no in the
smash cut into a new sentence.
The overly blonde woman grabbed her daughter's hand.
Overly blonde?
Overly blonde. Like, too blonde. too blonde.
Okay.
Way too blonde. Mm-hmm. Pull back. Grabbed her daughter's hand and roughly dragged her down the hall whilst the warden shouted at her for running away. Cyrus didn't like that. Not one bit. Now you got some commas. Not one bit, Ruby. No periods. But not one bit, Ruby went back to see Mr.
Yeah, okay, so wait, what was her name? Her name is Nicole Elsie Monroe.
No,
Ruby went back to
Ruby. Ruby went back to see Mr. Cyrus whenever she could, and she always brought him a cookie and asked him why her mommy said he was a bad man. Cyrus didn't have an answer for this, but it seems like Nicole had already made her mind up that he wasn't really a bad man, and that he was just playing around. Cyrus couldn't deny that he had developed a soft spot for the little girl who ran straight into his life. He couldn't help but like her little visits. He was surprised by how smart and witty the girl was. Some of the things she asks him or says to him, tenses, would get her killed if she were anybody else, but she wasn't anybody else, she was her.
Where did that sentence start? Because I checked out for a little bit and I zoomed back in. And I wasn't seeing any periods anywhere.
There weren't any periods. It was like half of this paragraph was one sentence.
It was a 2-sentence paragraph, but it's like 5 lines long. More than that. It's like 7. I don't know, I'm bad at estimating.
Oh, man.
Soon Nicole stopped visiting because
Is her name Nicole or Ruby?
I guess it's Nicole. That's the name that's shown up more often.
Sorry.
Soon Nicole stopped visiting because she had to go to school, but she would bring him back pictures and paintings that she had done. He hid them in a hole in the wall so no one would find them. Okay. Cyrus was surprised that her father or any of the guards had figured out that she was missing, or that fact that she was roaming the halls of a prison. A few of the other prisoners had noticed that she visits him but never says anything from fear of him. Although Nicole has made a friend in Nathan, aka Diamond Dog, it seems that she has managed to worm her way into his heart too. So the narration is going from, like, here's normal narration to, like, I'm speaking to you as a person.
Yeah,
it's like...
I'm not sure who the narrator's supposed to be.
I mean, it's definitely a third person.
Is it a third-person narrator, or is it Cyrus?
I don't think it's Cyrus. It's definitely not first person, so it's supposed to be third person, but what are you doing?
It's my hair.
Why is your hair in my beard? Why is your hair in my beard?
Why is your beard on top of my hair?
Rory?
Worm
her way into his heart, too.
Yeah.
Nathan's and Cyrus's cells were opposite one another's, so whenever Nicole visited, she could see them both, but she still didn't... Oh, there's not a but there, I'm sorry. I was making it make too much sense. She still didn't understand why her mommy told her to stay away from them because they're bad people. They didn't seem bad, and they were always nice to her. Nathan always calls her baby girl, and Cyrus calls her sweetheart. She likes it. It makes her happy. Okay.
Alright. Nicole had just finished her visit with Cyrus and Nathan. She had given them both finger painting she had done in school today. "See you next week, baby girl," Nathan said to her. She was the only child he could tolerate without thinking of killing her. Nicole smiled brightly, waving to both men, and ran down the hall, but stopped dead when she remembered something. Yes.
Keep going. Keep going. I'm looking for a period.
She ran back to Cyrus's lowercase cell and put the biggest cookie she had made him yet through the hole in the door. "Happy birthday, Cyrus." She ran off again.
Now there's a period. That whole thing, one sentence.
Cyrus looked down to the cookie. Double chocolate chip, his favorite. It had been a while since anyone had wished him a happy birthday. He wondered how she could have known it was his birthday. "She's a clever girl, that one," Nathan told him, lying down on his dirty cot. Cyrus just nodded his head and thought about Nicole and the poisonous environment she was being brought up in. He had to do something to help her.
What exactly is poisonous about her environment? Like, is it...
She's in a jail.
Yeah, but, like, that's him, though.
Yeah.
Like,
tell her not to come back?
Also, wasn't that also one sentence? So that was
all one sentence.
Okay.
Right? When he brought up the period, that was when the next sentence began, and there was not another period.
That was another two-sentence paragraph.
So we are averaging 2 sentences per paragraph.
Alright, okay.
Okay, all you.
Where is it? Oh, a now 14-year-old Nicole is running down the hall towards Cyrus's cell, just like she had 9 years ago. She hadn't changed much, just grown in height. I mean, that seems like a big change. Nicole reached a now 29-year-old Cyrus's cell, who was calmly reading a book until the girl he had seen grow up into a teenager slam on his glass door sobbing. He was brought back to the memory of how they first met. "What happened?" he asked, roughly, hoping that no one had heard her. She slipped down the side of the wall and sat next to his door, her head in her hands. You were going to say something?
Did he ask roughly, or was he roughly hoping? Because there's no comment to indicate.
Oh, yeah, so he asked roughly hoping. Okay, or he asked roughly hoping. Yeah. Alright. "They're getting a divorce and Mom got custode of me." Cyrus didn't understand why this would make her cry so much, so he sat with his back to the wall just as she was sat. Nathan was in the visiting room. He usually deals with her crying, but he wasn't here, and Cyrus didn't know how to deal with crying girls. "Don't worry about it. Most parents split up," Cyrus said, thinking about his own parents, but that didn't last long before he killed them both. Okay.
Alright.
Nicole stood up and slammed her hands on the glass of his door. Cyrus had never seen so much rage from her before. It looks wrong on her beautiful face. "Mom is moving us to Alabama. I'm never going to see you again." Cyrus was quiet. He couldn't imagine a life without her in it. "We're leaving tomorrow morning." Nicole looked at Nathan's cell and saw he was missing. "Tell Nathan I said goodbye." Nicole looked at Cyrus, who was now on his feet looking angry, and took a chocolate chip cookie out of her pocket. She quickly put it through the hole in his door. "I'm sorry," and ran back to her dad's office.
Why do you have a chocolate cookie in your pocket?
I know, that sounds like a really...
I've definitely had cookies in my pocket before, and it's never been something that I wanted to take out and give to another person.
Yeah,
it's always been like, "Oh, crap, I got a cookie in my pocket."
Yeah,
oh, and like turn your pocket inside out into the trash, because that's what her dad wasn't in his office, so she sat at his desk and waited for him. A box on his desk caught her eye. "Prisoner mail." She smiled and looked up the address to send letters to, and decided that this wouldn't be the last time she spoke to Cyrus or Nathan. Determined, she logged onto her dad's computer and found the number for both Cyrus and Nathan and wrote them down before her dad came back. She logged off the computer just as her dad... This is, like, questionable commas, so I'm trying to read it as, like...
As coherently as possible.
As correctly, but while also being true to the punctuation. She logged off the computer just as her dad walked into the room, looking sad. He shut the door behind him and looked up to see Nicole sitting in his chair. He rushed forward and grabbed his only child into a hug. "I'm sorry, Princess." Nicole just shrugged her shoulders. She was Daddy's girl at heart, but was angry he didn't fight hard enough for her. What was that?
That just now I think finished the sentence. Yeah.
Right.
Actually, there was a period earlier on, but that was also still a very long sentence.
Yeah. "You can come visit me whenever you like."
What do you mean she can do that? At the start of the story, I remember this when I was reading this the first time. Where are they? They're at San Quentin. You know where San Quentin is? It's just across the bridge from us. We can drive to it right now.
We are
They're moving to Alabama.
California. That's really far away.
They're moving to Alabama. You can come visit me whenever you want.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Just hop on the Muni and... "You can come visit me whenever you like." Nicole snorted. He never noticed when she was here anyway. He couldn't run a prison and be a dad. He never noticed the times she had slipped away to talk to Nathan and Cyrus, and she had been doing it for 9 years. I'm not angry at you, Daddy. I'm just disappointed you let me down. Nicole kissed her father on the cheek and walked out of his office wondering if she'd ever be back.
Will I ever go back to prison?
What?
She wondered wistfully.
Will I ever go back? Sometimes I sit and stare at San Quentin across the bay, just like, nah.
Weeks later, Cyrus had received something he had never had before in all the years of being in prison. A letter. He opened the letter and a cookie fell out with a note on it. I'll never forget you. Okay, so wait, can we pause a moment?
I want to talk about the logistics of sending a cookie and a letter, because it's the pocket thing all over again. You're going to open it and there's going to be, what if there are crumbs all over my mail?
But also, it's like, don't they go through prisoners' mail to make sure shit doesn't get sent to them?
There's not, yeah.
Okay. So, but anyway, I would like to point out that I'll never forget you ended in an exclamation point. So technically, end of a sentence. However, they're not treating it like that because we start off without a capital. He laughed, "What a sneaky girl." Now we have a true ending. Inside the envelope was an address, her address. The letter was signed from Cookie Monster. Cyrus couldn't believe she had managed to pull something like this off. Did this really take a lot of planning or cleverness?
Apparently you just shoved a whole cookie into a letter and sent it.
He would be able to keep tabs on her through her letter and isolate her so she would always be his. Okay. Cyrus had planned this for years. He believed for her to become his, he would have to turn her against her family. Not that it would be hard to do. Over the years of writing to her, Cyrus had become obsessed with her. And when her letter stopped a year later, he became so fixated on getting her back, he tried to escape so he could track her down, but the longer time grew, the more heinous Cyrus became. Okay, so wait, this plan doesn't make any sense.
There's no plan.
Because it's like, she'd been visiting for 9 years, he could have been working on her during that time, but then also, it's like, you get the sense that they were writing letters to each other for years, but then it only says when her letter stopped a year later.
A year later.
So, like, they were only writing for a year.
Yeah.
So...
I don't understand what the game plan is here.
Okay.
I think next episode's gonna have to be chapter 2, because now I'm invested.
Okay. Now you want to know what happens.
Now I want to know.
Okay. It's not horrible, but it's very questionable. Very questionable.
Yeah. Like, I've definitely read, like, grammatically and textually worse things in my life, but there's something just fascinating about it.
Okay.
I'm Smiley.
Billy Go to Doom.